to light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. We'll chant Om for a minute. Do it at your own pace. Verse number 23. Sattvabhasika chitvavetara
Sattvabhasika chitvavetara
Sattaya hi chit chittaya hyaham
Sattaya hi chit chittaya hyaham.
So, where is there another consciousness which will illuminate? Existence. Existence is consciousness, and consciousness I am. Consciousness alone I am. Alright. Here it addresses a possible concern that existence and consciousness may be two separate things. They are not. They are not two separate things. Why this concern may come? Because in our day-to-day common experience they are separate. So I am experiencing the world. Can you take a piece of paper and there's a conscious being. I'll remove that. With the hand. Pick it up with the hand. Yeah, she is climbing. She is a very, very outdoorsy person. So, yeah.
There is some
in our day-to-day activities, in our day-to-day life, it seems to us there are things existing apart from our consciousness. Existence is there. There is this microphone. There is this these boxes and chairs, carpet. These are all existing things. They exist, and I am conscious. And these exist without consciousness. They are apart from consciousness. They exist, but they are not conscious. And I exist, and I am conscious, and I am aware of those things. So it seems to me that there can be existence without consciousness. But here he says clearly there is no existence without consciousness or consciousness without existence. The argument is this. There are multiple arguments are possible here. I will not go into it. I'll just indicate one or two lines of thought and then move ahead. First, consciousness is not separate from existence. That is easy to understand, because if consciousness was separate from existence, then consciousness would be non-existent. So any consciousness that is, exists. So consciousness must be existent to be at all conscious. I'm talking about conscious minds, conscious beings. We all exist, and then we are conscious. So that is very clear. Consciousness must be existence. Consciousness and existence must be one. But existence also must always be consciousness. That is not so clear at all, because we have ample experience of things which seem to be existing, but without, they don't seem to be conscious at all. I just said AI, even something which can do wonderful things, is not conscious. Now what does it mean? I'll give you 2 or 3 lines of thought and then leave it. One is, which you will find in most of the books, in this book Tejomayandi has mentioned, other books also you will find, is that existence or existing things must be illumined by consciousness, and then only we can say that they exist. We can even talk about certain things only when we know about it, when they come in the purview of consciousness. Otherwise, existence apart from consciousness is inert, unknown, in the dark. You cannot even talk about it. So, like, for example, all the things are there, no doubt. It's only when light is switched on you see all of them. Your experience of all the things is possible when light pervades all of this. It's only when consciousness illumines things, then only we can talk about things. You might ask here, there might be things which we are not talking about, unknown, completely unknown, but they exist. But the very fact that we are talking about unknown existing things is in some sense already within our consciousness. As I said, all things in the universe exist as known and as unknown, but all of that exists in consciousness. So some are known, some are unknown. So this is one line of argument, that you cannot even talk about, discuss, bring into the discussion anything without first acknowledging that it's already within the purview of consciousness. If something is totally unknown, unknowable, you cannot say anything about it. Why talk about it at all? This is one line of argument. Another line of argument is, every existent thing is an object to some mind or the other, either now or in the future or in the past. Or if nothing else, it is an object to the mind of God. It exists in the mind of God. This is pretty close to what those who are philosophically trained will call subjective idealism. Things exist in our minds, not externally independent of that. And if you say there's a world which isn't it existing, if I look at the flower, it's existing. If I don't look at the flower, it just disappears. No, it exists in the mind of God. So that gives it existence. Practically, it comes down to realism in that case. Everything exists in the mind of God, so it exists by itself, more or less. Anyway, the second line of thought is more subtle. Go back to that argument. Indubitably, I am certain of my own existence. That is beyond argument. Philosophers east and west have no doubt about this. Nobody tries to prove his or her own existence because it's clear to us. Step 1. Step 2 of the argument which we did yesterday was that if I am indubitably sure I know of my own existence, how do I know of my own existence? Is it by the usual method of knower, method of knowledge and object of knowledge? Pramata, pramana, prameya. Is it by that? We saw it cannot be that by that because it leads to infinite regress. Anavastha dosha. The knower itself will be unestablished if we try to do that. So, the only option remaining to us was self-luminosity. We know because of self-luminosity, it reveals itself to us. It is self-shining, self-revealed. But what is, now I am asking one more thing. What is self-shining or self-revealed? It is that very indubitable existence of ourselves. I exist indubitably, without any doubt. That certain indubitable existence of ourselves is also self-luminous, self-shining, self-revealing, swaprakasha. Sat is chit. This is another argument. That very existence of yours, certain existence of yours, is also a luminous existence. That is, existence and consciousness are the same thing. Another line of argument suggested where? Oh, in the Upadesa Saram text published by Ramana in all 4 languages. There, one more line of argument has been suggested. The self is existence and consciousness, because if you say that there are 2 separate things, like Ramana Maharshi here suggests, is there a separate consciousness which will know existence? Now apply it to yourself. I am an existing self, and is there a separate conscious self which will know this existing self? No, but because I don't have two selves. I have only one self. So this self which I know to be existent also must be consciousness. This is another variation on this argument. There are other arguments, more subtle and more profound. I'll just indicate one and move ahead. This argument which goes like this. To show that all existing things are nothing but consciousness, in that sense. Subject and object, knower and the known, if they are so distinct, as Shankaracharya suggests in the opening lines of the Adhyasa Bhashya, Tama prakashavad viruddha svabhavayo, yushmadasvat pratyaya gocharayo. The I, the knower, and this, the known, are of such distinct natures, like light and darkness. How could they ever interact? See, when I say light is illumining these the room is in darkness, which on the light illumines. But then this light is a material light. Chairs are also material things. They can interact. One can illumine the other. They can reflect it. The chair can reflect this light. But consciousness and matter, if they are so different from each other, entirely different. We say drashta and drishya, seer and seen are different things. At what point will they interact? This question became very sharp when Descartes proposed mind and matter duality, mind-body duality. So body is there, brain is there and all of that, and mind is something separate from it, and it interacts. But then somebody asked a question that which we asked today also. It was a princess, Elizabeth or something. She was a student of Descartes. In letters, in this days, he used to write those long, wonderful letters. So she writes, perhaps it is my poor womanly brain, she is pointing out a deep flaw in his philosophy, in a very great modesty. The womanly brain, I cannot catch this amazing concept you have got. How would the mind, which is entirely immaterial, entirely spiritual, immaterial, and the brain and the body, the brain and all that, which is entirely material, how would they interact? What she asks is very precise, she makes it. At which point will they interact? And will that point be material or immaterial? Will that point be mind or body? Where will they come in contact? The point of contact. Then Descartes was forced, he knew it was a great weakness in his philosophy. And that weakness is there in every dualistic philosophy, including the most ancient one, Sankhya, consciousness and matter. Descartes was forced to develop the theory of, in the pineal gland, mind and body interact. That may be so, but she was not one to give up. She said the pineal gland is body. It's part of the body. Where will the mind meet the pineal gland? Then he was forced to develop, went further. He said there are some vapors inside it. Physiology was not very clear. Some vapors are there in the brain which are being pushed around by thoughts. And those vapors push the nerves and the pineal gland and all, and that pushes the rest of the body. But then the vapor is also material. How will the mind push the vapor? If there's vapor here and we try mentally to push the vapor, it will not happen. So this is the problem of interaction. Now, Shankara asked this question 1400 years ago. If mind and matter, consciousness and matter are entirely different, how will they interact? And yet it is a matter of observed fact that it interacts in our day-to-day life. We are conscious beings and we are material bodies and we are nicely interacting. We are nicely getting along. How? It is possible only if, he introduces the term adhyasa, that one of them is an appearance in the other one. So, either consciousness is an appearance in matter, it is generated by matter, like materialists will say, or matter is an appearance in consciousness. So matter is an appearance means matter is nothing other than consciousness. It is somehow an object appearing to consciousness, in consciousness, and in principle nothing other than consciousness. Then it can interact. And which one did he select? He selected that matter is an appearance in consciousness, not that consciousness is produced by matter. Why? Because that's our experience. Isn't matter appearing to you in consciousness? So let's go with the line of least resistance. The world, body, mind appears to you, the conscious being. Therefore, because it appears to you, the conscious being, it appears in you, the conscious being, it shares your nature. Though it appears to be a material entity, there seems to be matter, body seems to be matter, but it is appearing entirely in you, the consciousness. In some sense, it must be consciousness clothed with the name and form of matter, with the name and form of wall, with the name and form of body, with the name and form of cloth. But it is consciousness itself appearing to you in consciousness. Therefore, the interaction problem is solved, because in principle they are the same thing. In that case, all material things which we experience as if they are matter, outside, drishya, objects, separate, are actually nothing other than you, the consciousness. So existence and consciousness, they go together. Where is the separate consciousness which will experience existence? Existence and consciousness are the same thing. Existence and consciousness are the same thing. Sattaya hi chittaya hyaham. How beautifully said. Existence is consciousness. Consciousness is existence. So existence is consciousness. Good. So consciousness is you. Chittaya hyaham. I am consciousness. How did you know that? All the verses which we did from 16 onwards, we have gone to prove I am consciousness itself. I am existence. Everything in the universe floats in an ocean of existence, are names and forms of existence. I am existence, so they are all names and forms in me. Therefore, everything in the universe is not a countable second apart from me, the consciousness. Not being a countable second apart from me, the consciousness, means no two. This seems to be, I am one, this is two. But if I am consciousness, in me this is appearing nothing other than me. In me this is appearing nothing other than me. So this is not a two apart from me. This is not a two apart from me. The entire universe is not two apart from you. Not a second one. Advaitam. Dvaitam, two. Advaitam, not two. You are consciousness and you are Advaitam. Chittaya hyaham. I am consciousness alone. Don't say, yeah, I am consciousness, that I know. Before Advaita also I knew this. I am consciousness, I am mind, I am body, I am Mr. So and Mrs. So and so. No. You are bare consciousness, clothed with 5 sheets of Anandamaya, Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya. What are those then? They are also you, the consciousness. Body, mind are also nothing but you, the consciousness. Just like dream example, remember the dream example? In the dream example, you are there. And you have a body and a mind also. But what is the body and mind? They are all nothing but the dreaming mind. You are walking around in the park. You are eating samosa. Samosa, park, table, mosquito there. All are nothing other than you, the one dreaming mind in the dream. Similarly, you, the consciousness, is not only consciousness, but also mind and body and universe appearing. Now, the remaining portion, there is a lot of heavy duty stuff there. I am going to go fast, so I will not explain too much. You will hear a lot of Advaitic theory. I'll just tell you what's contained in that. At least give us a glimpse of how much Ramana Maharshi has packed into these verses. Verses 23 and 24, I will read together. They are about God. Somebody had asked about God in the first class. Ishvara. So those things will be answered now. Omniscience. Somebody had asked. Sarvajya. So those things will be answered now. 23 and 24. You may not remember. I remember the questions. 23 and 24.
24.
24, 25. 24, 25. ईशजीवयोर्वेषधिभिदा
ईशजीवयोर्वेषधिभिदा
स्वस्वभावतो vastu kevalam
Satsvabhavato vastu kevalam
Veshahanata swatmadarshanam
Veshahanata swatmadarshanam
Ishadarshanam swatmarupata
Ishadarshanam swatmarupata.
The difference between Ishvara, God, now God is being introduced. We had seen God last in Bhakti Yoga. Now God is making a comeback. So, difference between God and us, the Jiva, he says, Vesha, just the dress. Without the dress, what are we? What is the reality? Sat Swabhava, the pure being, pure consciousness, Sat Chit. What you discovered without the physical body, prana, mana, the intellect, the causal body, Anandamaya, without that the witness consciousness, that alone is the reality of both Ishvara and Jiva. With the dress, there is a huge difference. What does it mean? It's like this. Take this example. There is a dramatic performance going on, and then you see there is an emperor in the drama, in the theatrical performance. An emperor, how grand, how powerful, how gorgeously dressed, how much people respect and obey him, and so much power and glory. There is also a beggar in that theatrical performance, wretched and miserable and poor and ignored and dressed in rags. Now somebody tells you that the beggar is the emperor. The beggar is the emperor. And you understand what it means. It means that there is one actor playing the two roles. You know, he just goes into the green room and puts on a new dress and he comes out as emperor. Then he goes into the green room and takes it off and puts on the rags and he comes out as beggar. Same actor. Difference in dress. What is the difference between emperor and beggar? There is a great difference. Ramana says no, there is a difference only in dress. It's actually the same person, same actor, same being who is playing the role of emperor and the role of beggar. Though in their roles in the theatrical performance, their dialogues are different, their dress is different, their glory and power is different, or the absence of glory and power is there. So these are very different as far as the theatrical performance is concerned. But the person behind the emperor and the beggar is the same person, same actor. You can go to the green room and meet the same guy. Similarly, he says the difference between Ishvara and Jiva is a difference of dress only. Now, what is the dress we will see? What is the difference of Ishvara and Jiva? We will see now. Now, I'm going to quickly summarize this. Most of us who have been studying Vedanta, it's all familiar to us. I mentioned this yesterday also in the Avasthatraya Vichara from the Mandukya. The Vedantic perspective is this. What's the difference between Ishvara and Jiva? The one actor is pure consciousness. Pure being, pure consciousness. Ramana Maharshi says being, Sat Swabhava. Pure existence, or pure consciousness. Same thing, which we discovered in our Vichara. Now, when that puts on a dress of Anandamaya Kosha, the causal body, which we experience in deep sleep, then that same consciousness is called the deep sleeper. There's a name, Pragya, deep sleeper. Puts on one more layer of dress. That is, it's like put on the underclothes, vest, that is the deep sleeper. Then puts on a shirt and becomes a thinker, a knower, an understander, a perceiver, a dreamer. Mind has been put on. So that has three components. The shirt has three components. Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya. That's called the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. That has been put on now. Now that same consciousness, which was called a deep sleeper, Pragya, is now being given a new name, Taijasa, the dreamer. You in your dreams. What are you in your dreams? So you, the consciousness, further layers of dress. And then you put on top of that a coat, heavy coat, which is the Annamaya, the gross body, the physical body. See, gross body, all our books have translated, but in America the meaning of gross is different. Though the physical body can be pretty gross, so it's a gross body. So that's like a heavy coat you have put on. And now your name is the waker. We give it a name Vishwa. This is from the Mandukya Upanishad. You need not call it all these fancy technical names, Sanskrit names. You just call them the waker, the dreamer, and the deep sleeper. But you are neither the real you, the actor. The real you is neither the deep sleeper, nor the dreamer, nor the waker. You are pure consciousness. Now, if this pure consciousness puts on the cosmic ignorance, that means the cosmic causal body called Maya, which is the sum total of all the individual causal bodies and much more besides, then that same consciousness is called Ishvara, God. And from that cosmic consciousness, cosmic Maya, that causal body, if a cosmic subtle body is produced, which is the sum total of all our subtle bodies, all the pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya put together, extraordinarily powerful mind, the cosmic mind, then that same consciousness, which was earlier called Ishvara, gets a new name, Hiranyagarbha, cosmic mind. Who gets the name? Not the dress. Who is the emperor? The person wearing the emperor's dress. The dress is not the emperor. The dress is not the beggar. The person wearing the beggar's dress is called beggar. The person wearing the emperor's dress is called emperor. Consciousness wearing the cosmic, this Maya, is called Ishvara. Consciousness wearing cosmic mind dress is called Hiranyagarbha. And then it puts on a heavy dress of the entire universe, physical universe. The same consciousness which was called Ishvara and Hiranyagarbha is now called Virat, which is what Arjuna saw in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Vishwarup Darshan is Virat Darshan. Now, this is the difference in dress. One set of dress is individual causal body, individual subtle body, individual gross body. Or if you want to be more fine-grained, then Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. That consciousness will now be called Jiva. And pure consciousness with the Samashti Annamaya, Samashti Pranamaya, Samashti Vijnanamaya, Samashti Manomaya, Samashti is total. Samashti Anandamaya or Maya, that one will be called God. Multiple names are there, Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, Virat, then Vishwarupa, many names are there. Vesha, and that dress makes all the difference. What is the difference? We the Jiva, right now I the Jiva, I feel, same consciousness now feels itself small, tiny, and the universe feels so big. What is tiny? This body. And the universe is so big. It feels itself so helpless. What is helpless? My own power, my pranamaya has given me very little power. There is limit to how much I can run, limit to how much weight I can lift, limit to how long I can live, limit to how much I can eat. My powers are very limited. My knowledge is very limited. Alpagya. Limited knowledge. With lot of effort I struggle and get a degree and promptly forget whatever I've learned. Alpagya. Very little knowledge. Even the most brilliant, erudite people have very little knowledge. And that's also unstable. It disappears. As old age sets in, Parkinson, Alzheimer's, memory fails, all the vast learning begins to disappear. So the Alpagya, I feel myself very shaky and weak. And the same consciousness with the tremendous power of Maya and the power of the cosmic mind and the power of this whole universe behind it is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. All the omnis are there. Ishvara, Sarvagya, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavyapi, all knowing. So, tremendously powerful, all wise, all knowing. This is the difference. The difference is because of the dress. The difference is because of the dress. Not the reality. The reality, the same actor who is behaving in one way when he puts on the emperor's dress, behaving in another way on the stage when he puts on the beggar's dress. Different dialogue, different behavior, different role. Similarly, when I, the consciousness, put on Jiva dress, I am like this. I, the consciousness, when I put on Ishvara dress, I am all of this. Now you say, but then why can't I experience myself as Ishvara? Because you are experiencing yourself as Jiva. You are not Ishvara, you are Jiva. Advaita Vedanta never says Jiva is Ishvara. It does say that. Tattvamasi means that. But it means it only in the sense beggar is the emperor. How is beggar the emperor? There is really no beggar, there is really no emperor, there is only one guy acting as both. Really is that guy a beggar? No, he is a Broadway actor, quite well paid. Really is that guy an emperor? No, not so well paid. So Ishvara is Sarvaniyanta, controller of everything because of the dress. There is one cinema called Iron Man, superhero. So when he puts on the Iron Man dress, he gets lots of powers. He can fly around and punch the villains and do many things. It all comes from the dress. Otherwise he is a human being. But he has to put on the dress. Consciousness puts on the dress, gets all these powers. Sri Ramakrishna put it this way. The cobra has in its poison glands, in its mouth, its poison glands, all the poison. And a little bit of that it puts on the prey, the poor frog or the rat or whatever. It's enough to kill or knock out the rat or the frog. But the entirety of the poison is in the mouth of the cobra. It doesn't do any harm to the cobra. Not only it doesn't do any harm, it is the power of the cobra. Similarly, Maya is the power of Ishvara. Little bit of that Maya, we are trapped in samsara. All of that Maya is with Ishvara. It doesn't do any harm to Ishvara. It is the power of Ishvara. It makes the whole samsara go around. So this is the difference between Ishvara and Jiva. Then what do you do? Then he says, next one. Veshahanata swatma darshanam, Isha darshanam swatma rupata. Veshahanata swatma darshanam. Okay. 25. What's number 25? When you give up, 25, when you give up the dress, give up means you don't have to literally take it off. You only analyze. Other than the dress, even when you are seeing the beggar, even when you are seeing the emperor, you think of it, other than the dress, it's the same guy. Now, other than the dress, when you negate or cancel the dress, what remains? Self alone, consciousness alone, Satchidananda alone. How do you do that? That is the entire process of Mahavakya Vichara. Mahavakya Vichara. What is Mahavakya? The central message of Advaita Vedanta. Tattvamasi. You are that. What does it mean? Tattvamasi. Tat means Ishvara. Saguna Brahma. Tvam means Jiva. Jiva and Saguna Brahma are same. You are Saguna Brahman or Ishvara. How? Impossible. It's like saying beggar is emperor. There is so much contradiction. Alpagya, little knowing, Sarvagya, all knowing. You are a little person confined here. Ishvara is Sarvavyapi, all present, all pervading, all powerful. We are Alpa Shaktiman, we have got little power. We are constantly subject to birth and death. Ishvara is eternal. All of this. So how can you say that the beggar is the emperor? How can you say Jiva is Ishvara? Then the analysis will start. The analysis, I'll quickly summarize, but it's a long and complicated analysis. All of that is summarized here in one word by Ramana Maharshi, Veshahanata. If you ignore, negate the dress, you are the same self. How? It goes like this. First of all, the objection will come, no, Jiva and Ishvara cannot be the same thing. Tattvamasi does not mean that Jiva and Ishvara are the same. Why? Because it's a sentence and there are two different words. Different words mean different things. Tat means that. Tvam means you. They mean two different things. How can it be the same? There are different other interpretations possible. You are the servant of God. You are a part of. There is a servant of God, Dvaita. You are a part of God. That's another option. Vishishta Dvaita. You and God are literally the same. It can't be. Why? Because of grammatical reason, linguistic reason, a sentence with multiple words will give multiple meanings. Those who have studied it, Vyadhikarana Vakya, Samanadhikarana Vakya and all that. And now our answer is, as Advaitins, our answer will be, now there are some sentences which will have multiple words, all with different connotations, but they denote one thing. Vishwam Vishnur Vashatkara Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu. 1,000 names of Vishnu, 1,000 words, 1,000 different meanings, but they all point to one God. Different names, different connotations, different qualities, many things, different stories are implied there, but all of them point to one divinity, one God. Similarly, so there are sentences like that. Similarly, they are called Samanadhikaranya, with one locus. All the words in the sentence point to one entity. So we say that this sentence, Tattvamasi, is like that. The two different words, you and that, but they both point to the same reality. Alright, they both point to the same reality. I'll jump over something called Visheshana Visheshya Bhava, that is complicated, not necessary. The next stage of the final stage of the analysis we'll go into. They mean the same thing, but how can they mean the same thing? Because, alright, let's not jump over anything. I'll quickly summarize. It will be difficult to follow if you have not done this, but you have done Mahavakya Vichara, it's just executive summary of what is done there. Now the next question will be, but they are contradictory. How can they refer to the same thing? Then they say that it can, for example, when you say blue lotus, Nilotpala. The lotus is a flower, the blue is a color, and so the blue lotus can both refer to the same thing. What does the blue refer to? Not to a blue pen, not to the blue sky, but it refers to the blue lotus. What does lotus refer to? It does not refer to a red lotus or a white lotus, it refers to the blue lotus. So both ways it refers to the same object. Blue points to that flower, lotus points to that flower. Both of them are pointing to one flower. So two different things can point to one object, blue lotus. Similarly, Tat and Tvam, they can point to one object. So that is the argument. But then an objection will come. Yes, it can point to one object, but blue and lotus do not contradict each other. And lotus can be blue, it can be red, it can be white. Lotus has color. So if you say it's a blue colored lotus, nobody feels any contradiction. It's a logical statement to make. No problem at all. They can qualify each other. Lotus can be the object, the substance, and blue can be the color of that lotus. But you cannot say God qualified by Jiva, like flower qualified by blue flower. In that way you cannot say Tattvam, that Ishvara qualified by Jiva. Why? Because they have contradictory qualities. You can say blue lotus. You can say tall man. Can you say short tall man? No, you can't. Because they are contradictory qualities. You can say that house is nearby. That house is near far. You can say that house is large and near. That is, everybody understands. But if you say that house is near and far, what? It's contradictory. So if you say Jiva qualifies Ishvara, it's contradictory, it doesn't stand. Because Ishvara is, God is Sarvagya, all-knowing. Jiva is Alpagya, we know little. God is all-powerful, we are little powerful. What are you saying? There is an entity which is all-knowing, little knowing, all-powerful, little powerful. It doesn't go together. Then how are the two the same entity? You can keep on applying that actor, emperor and beggar example. If you say emperor and beggar together, that one is emperor beggar. But how can an emperor be a beggar? Emperor is all powerful, beggar has no power. Emperor is extremely rich, beggar is poor. Emperor has gorgeous dress, beggar has dressed in rags. How can the same one be dressed in rags and gorgeous dress, be little wealthy and poor, powerful and not powerful? How? We know the answer. What is the answer? actually is not an emperor, actually is not a beggar. He only appears to be emperor, he only appears to be beggar because of the dress. Dress is a false dress. It's not really an emperor's dress, it's not really a beggar's dress. He's dressed up as a beggar, he's dressed up as an emperor. All the time he's only actor. Similarly, it's all the time pure consciousness. And these are appearances. These Maya and causal body, Anandamaya Kosha, the Jivatva and Ishwaratva are appearances imposed upon pure consciousness. But how do you get to that? What is the process? How do you negate these contradictions generated by the dress? So this is called Lakshana, where directly you cannot get the meaning. How can an emperor be a beggar? Then you have to get the implied meaning. The implied meaning is actually the reality is that he is an actor, not really emperor, not really beggar, acting and behaving as beggar, acting and behaving as emperor. Similarly, when the meaning of the sentence Tattvamasi is not directly available, you take an implied meaning. I am summarizing very fast. This is called Lakshana. Implied meaning can be of multiple types. I will not go into that. There is something called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Those who have studied this, they know we generally take up three kinds of implied meaning. That is Jahad Lakshana, Ajahad Lakshana and Bhagatyaga or Jahad Ajahad Lakshana. Implied meaning means without sacrificing any of the original meaning, or sacrificing the original meaning, or sacrificing part of the original meaning and retaining part of the original meaning. We try to get what are we trying to get? A coherent answer, a reasonable meaning out of it, the sentence. So ultimately what is done in that analysis? So I am Devadatta. This is that Devadatta. That example is given. The Devadatta, who's Devadatta? Just some guy. Devadatta is some guy. Some guy, Devadatta, whom I'm seeing now here in Boston, Hopkinton. I saw him 30 years ago in Mumbai, let's say. And that Devadatta was young. This Devadatta is old. That Devadatta had a full head of hair. This Devadatta is bald. That Devadatta was starting out on his career. This Devadatta is retiring. The qualities are contradictory, and yet we know it's the same person. We ignore those qualities. Young, old, we ignore it. With hair and bald, we ignore it. Beginning career, end of career, we ignore it. We say the person is the same. Similarly, in this case, ignore the little knowledge, all-knowing. Ignore the smallness, the all-pervasiveness. Ignore the little power, all-powerful, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Ignore those things. Why will you ignore those things? Because those things are coming from the dress. They don't belong to consciousness itself. How will you find out it is the beggar is the emperor? You ignore the glory of the emperor, you ignore the poverty of the beggar. You ignore the gorgeous dress of the emperor, you ignore the rags of the beggar. You ignore the grand behavior of the emperor, you ignore the servile behavior of the beggar. Then you realize behind it is one person. All the rest is acting. So when you ignore all of this, set it aside, but you retain one part of it. What part? When you see the emperor, you ignore the dress and the behavior and the dialogue of the emperor, but take the actor. You don't ignore the whole thing, you don't throw out the whole thing, because the actor is also there. When you see the beggar, you ignore the dress, the behavior, the dialogues of the beggar, but you take the person. You will find it is the same person. If you throw out the beggar totally and throw out the emperor totally, you will be left with nothing. Shunyam, nothing. No, the reality is there. The reality is the beggar in the case of the emperor, and reality is the actor in the case of the emperor, reality is the actor in the case of the beggar. Same actor. Similarly, in this case, it is Satchidananda alone, which is the reality, and we ignore the causal body, Maya or Ajnana. We ignore the subtle body, we ignore the gross body. The dress we ignore. Inner dress, shirt, big coat, we ignore all of that, we take the person. We take the consciousness itself, not the Panchakosha, not the Sthula Sukshma Karan Sharira. And this is all done in analysis. We don't ask the Jiva and the Ishwar to undress and show that you are one consciousness. No, we know it is the same. So, by that we realize Tat Tvamasi. What is Tvam? Pure consciousness. What is Tat? Pure consciousness. All of these, the 3 stages of analysis. Samanadikaranya Vakyam, then Vishesha Visheshana Bhava, then Laksha Lakshana Bhava, all these stages of analysis, all the Devadatta, Swayam Devadatta, all of that, Bhagatyaga Lakshana and all of that, Ramana Maharshi has said in one word, Veshaharata. When you negate the dress, what remains is Swatma Darshanam. You find pure consciousness. What is that pure consciousness? You. How do I know it's me? You did just that process of Panchakosha, 5-course elimination, the Russian nesting dolls. You found yourself as the awareness to which everything is appearing. The 10th man. You find that. Now, what about God realization? Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupata. You have realized God. This is God realization. This is the highest form of God realization. There are other forms of God realization. Same God wearing the form of Kali. Sri Ramakrishna here saw that. Wearing the form of Krishna, Mirabai saw that. And so on. But the same God without the form as such is nothing other than yourself. Isha Darshanam is equal to Swatma Rupata, as my own self. I have found God as I be myself. I and God are one reality. That there was this beautiful Sufi saying, I searched for Allah but I found myself. When I searched for who am I searched for myself, I found Allah. Best description of Advaita Vedanta. The total identity of the cosmic and the individual. Is that saying, sacrilegious saying that you are God, you are Allah? No. You remain as the Jiva, sentient being, individual being. And God remains as God. But negating the glory of God and the smallness of the Jiva. And you can negate it. Why? Because they are appearances. If they were real, you could not negate it. If it was a real beggar and a real emperor, you can't say beggar is emperor. You can't say. Of course, if he is Harry and Meghan, you can say that. You can be royal family and give it up and still be prince and princess. Or try to be. Then let us go on. '26th verse is one of the most beautiful verses. Actually, it could take a whole 1 hour lecture to explain it. So let's just go through it quickly. Atma samstiti swatma darshanam.
Atma samstiti swatma darshanam.
Atma nidvayat atma nishtata.
Atma nidvayat atma nishtata.
Since the self, Atma, is non-dual. Abidance in the self alone is the vision of the self, and that alone is known as firm abidance in the self. Alright, multiple things have been said here. First, the core idea is Atma, self, consciousness, non-dual. Non-dual means there is no second reality apart from it. Whatever appears to you is nothing other than you. It is not countably a second one. What do I mean countably a second? If you look at the ocean, you see thousands of waves coming up and disappearing. But if you consider water, and you count water, then you can't say that there are 10,000 things apart from water. No, all of those thousands of waves are nothing but water. So that is non-duality. Non-duality of water. Non-duality of the universe, of the Atman is you are Atman, and whatever appears to you, universe, other people, your own body, your own thoughts, they are nothing other than you, the consciousness, appearing with different names and forms to you. Right? So, Atma Nirdvaya, because the Atman, because you are non-dual, because consciousness is non-dual, because existence is non-dual, you are non-dual. This nice argument. Existence has to be non-dual because anything apart from existence becomes non-existent. So existence is one notion of non-duality. So because you are non-dual, then what happens? Atma samstiti swatma darshanam. What is really self-realization? What is really self-realization? So Advaita implies Swatma Darshana, Atma Samstiti, Atmanishtha. Okay. What will you realize? What will you see? What will you experience which will count as realization? Ramana Maharshi here says it is nothing other than abiding as pure consciousness. Nothing other than abiding as pure consciousness. As Sat-Chit, Ananda, Satchidananda. Ananda will come later. You are that, you abide as that, that is self-realization. What does that mean? Don't look for some new types of experiences. Once all that is needed to be done is to remove the ignorance that you are not the self. Once you are completely convinced and clear that I am limitless awareness and only limitless awareness, then it's done. That is self-realization. Every other spiritual experience, you may have all kinds of mystical experiences. Those are all lower than this. All ultimately has to culminate in this. The clarity that I am Satchidananda, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. This clarity. Is it a belief? No. It is a clarity of the sense that right now I am Sarvapriyananda. It's not a belief. I don't believe that I am Sarvapriyananda. It is a fact for me. So in that sense, the complete clarity that I am Satchidananda, I am Brahman, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, that is Swatma Darshana. Atma Samsthiti, being, seeing that I am that. No matter what, then that confusion should not come. That I get it sometimes in the class, but when I go outside and I can, we always say, we interact with life, difficult situations, difficult people, my own health problems, impending death coming towards me, all those terrible things coming, then I am swept away. I have to be, you have to notice even when that is going on, suppose it's going on, all the confusion, storm, it's a mischief played by the mind. The mind kicks back at you. You have slipped away from it. Again, you need to go to some more classes and attend some more meditation sessions, then you will come back into it. This is an illusion generated by the mind. You have never slipped away from it. This consciousness which we noticed, which we realized ourselves to be, the 10th man, the witness consciousness, you say that is there now? Let me ask you, in the midst of confusion, in the midst of doubt, is that consciousness there or not?
Yes.
Not only that, it is because of that consciousness that confusion is also possible, doubt is also possible, struggle is also possible. Even the problems which we face, I am reacting to it as an ordinary person, I should be reacting to it like Ramana Maharshi, but I am reacting like Estelle only. Even in the midst of that consciousness is there or not? Yeah. This is called, this Atma Samsthiti. Being centered in your real nature, one thinks that's some kind of practice, being centered in the real nature. Not a practice, it's a fact. It is choiceless. You cannot do anything about it. When you recognize that without any effort at all, you are forever established in your real nature, that is Atma Samsthiti. And that is self-realization. Swatma Darshana. All comes from the non-duality of the self. Then one more word is there, Atmanishtata. Now this word is this. If what I just said, being centered in your real nature with absolute clarity that I am that, in no matter what the mind does. If it is the mind of Ramana Maharshi or Vivekananda, there will be no doubt. My real nature is always clear. But if it is my mind, sometimes doubts will be there, sometimes ups and downs will be there. But in both cases, you are that limitless consciousness all the time, effortlessly so, without need to do anything at all. That clarity is there. Then you are realized. But suppose that clarity is not coming. And then we go, yes, it's me, I am just like that case. So suppose, yes. Then what do I do? Then there is something called Atmanishtha. Atmanishtha. What is that Atmanishtha? After realization, after you get the breakthrough, it becomes clear what Advaita Vedanta is trying to tell us, after Shravana is complete, Manana is complete, there comes a time for Nididhyasana. Some may not require it. Almost all of us require it. Almost all of us. If we have any complaint at all in our spiritual life, it's not working, and most of us have complaint, then we need Atmanishtha. This Atmanishtha is what started as Shraddha in the beginning. We have entered into this path with Shraddha. That the texts are telling me something true, that the masters are telling me something true. It is true and worthwhile, let me pursue it. This is called Shraddha, faith. Faith in the teachings. Once you make the breakthrough, that faith will now, it's no longer faith is required. It will now become Nishtha, a centeredness. Once you understand your pure consciousness, you notice it's a fact. You no longer need to believe in it anymore. It's a fact. But now the centeredness is necessary. And again, practices are necessary. Why practices are necessary? Because we have a complaint. Really, practice is not necessary. Atma samsthiti. But if we have a complaint, and most of us do have a complaint, that it is not working, in that case, Atmanishtha is necessary. What is Atmanishtha? It is a rigorous course of spiritual practices. But with this difference, important difference, earlier spiritual practices we were doing meditation, karma yoga, bhakti, jnana yoga, all this we were doing seeking. Now you have found it. Now you are doing all this to stay. Because you are complaining that I am slipping away from you. You are actually not slipping away. But if that argument does not cut any ice with you, then Atmanishtha is necessary. Traditionally, Atmanishtha is necessary for 5 things. Five reasons for this. Practice after you feel that you have found it. You feel you have found it and yet you are not satisfied. Five reasons why you need to continue practicing. Jnana raksha, tapasya, avisamvada, dukkha nivritti, ananda prapti. Jnana raksha, protection of the knowledge already gained. Second, tapasya, austerity for strength. Then, avisamvada, lack of contradiction. Then, dukkha nivritti, actually practically removing some sorrow and suffering. Which is not happening, that's my complaint. I know all this, but still sorrow, suffering not going away. Then last, attainment of ananda, fulfillment. For these 5 reasons, I need to practice sadhana again. First of all, jnana raksha. So I remember this Swami Ramananda Saraswati. I think he was one of the few I've met in my life who were Jivandatas. Ramana was there. I met him in Rishikesh, Ramananda Saraswati. No contradiction, avisamvada. So the first one is jnana raksha, protection of knowledge. So Ramananda Saraswati, I met him there in Haridwar. There's an ashram called Sadhana Sadhan. So he used to by the time I met him, he was quite old. He would not teach texts, but he would engage in prashnottari, this question answer. Those question answers also have been published in 3 volumes now. Wonderful, coming directly from experience, from his realization. So answers were very helpful. Atmanishtha, this one, the centeredness in the self. Centeredness in self is not self-centered. This is self with a capital S, limitless consciousness. This is the self of all beings. It is the same thing as being selfless, unselfish. So somebody asked, a devotee had come who had a kidney transplant, and the gentleman was telling the Swami. Swami was asking, how are you? And the gentleman said, its operation went off well, but I have many these diet restrictions and medicines I have to take and a lifestyle I have to follow carefully. The Swami, who did not know much about modern science and medicine, he was a little puzzled. But the operation has been done, right? So the new organ has been put in your body. He said, yes. Then why do you have to do all this? He said, the devotee said, the doctor told me if I don't do it, then my body will not accept the organ as a part of itself. It will still treat it as a foreign body. Second, the organ will not function well. I will not get the benefits from the organ, the new kidney. Third, the organ may be rejected, it will die. And the whole thing will be a failure. Unless I follow these rules. Now the Swami was very excited. He looked at the rest of us. So Mahatmaji, did you hear what he said? Yahi to. Now you are all the monks and all what studying Vedanta for a long time. You have got the knowledge. Kidney has been transplanted into you. If you feel that you are not enlightened, Brahmagyani, Jivan Mukta yet, then Atmanishta. How do you do? Why? Because otherwise this knowledge will not be protected. It will not be assimilated into yourself as I am Satchidananda. Some Satchidananda I read about and understood. I am that Satchidananda, that will not be clear to you. It will not be integrated. Second, the benefits of this knowledge will not flow to you. Benefit was dukkha, going beyond sorrow, ability to overcome, face the ups and downs of life. But you are not getting that power, that strength. And attainment of fulfillment. The benefits are not coming to you. Kidney will not give its benefits unless you protect it with these practices. Then the third one is, of course, the kidney may die and be rejected and die altogether. In this case, if you have made a genuine breakthrough, the knowledge will not die. It will remain dormant. It will not be effective in your life. You will not get the benefit of it till your death, when it will liberate you. It will give you moksha, videya mukti. But until death, you will not get the benefit. It will not flow. So, it will be rejected. It will not form a part of your day-to-day lifestyle. If you don't protect it, it will remain shaky and dormant. It will not die totally. But if you do the sadhana, it will be protected. So this is first reason for Atmanishta. What sadhana? Primarily nididhyasana. What is nididhyasana? Prolonged meditation on what you have heard and understood. What you have heard, all our teachings. And you are getting that clarity also. That nididhyasana. The one which we did just now. This Panchakosha. Slowly, step by step, with the reasoning, with the understanding, why I am not the body, why I am not the prana, why I am sick, and see it for a fact. Is it a fact? Is it a fact? Is it a fact? Body is there, prana is there, mind is there, but I am not literally those things. Then I must be the awareness. And then if you stay, that is all manana. Then when you stay there with unbroken, that I am that awareness to which appears, I am the 10th man. Totally the pure subject, not an object. Stay there for prolonged periods, that is called Vedantic meditation, nididhyasana. So that is called Jnana Raksha, protection of the knowledge. Ishavasya Upanishad said it beautifully. Ishavasya Vedam Saram Yatkankincha Jagatyam Jagat. You should see the divinity, one existence, consciousness, bliss in whatever is there in the universe, moving and unmoving, all of that is pervaded by one divinity. The next, Tera Tyaptena Bhunjitha. If you translate it, enjoy it by the renunciation. Shankaracharya says, protect this knowledge by renunciation. Instead of being desperately engaged with the world again. Renunciation, step back from the world. Lead this austere, inward, introverted lifestyle which will protect this knowledge so gained. And then he explains further. Not that. Tena Tyaptena Bhunjitha Madridakasya Svithanam. Do not hanker after the wealth of others. That sounds like a very ordinary instruction. But then Shankaracharya gives a very deep meaning there. He says, Nadhanamasti, there is no such thing as the wealth of others. It's all an appearance. What is there other than this self, Satchidananda, that you will hanker for? Very non-dualistic interpretation. Okay, this is first point. Why there should be Atmanishta, Jnana Raksha, protect it. Second, Tapasya. If you regularly meditate for long periods of time, practice selfless living, minimize your requirements, and keep yourself at the disposal of, service of others, those who you need. a lot of this selfishness which is biologically based in this genetic body mind. You know, the selfish gene, Richard Dawkins, that book is there, very interesting book, Selfish Gene. Our genetic system is a powerful biological machinery which makes us selfish. Richard Dawkins pointed out, people have misunderstood me. I am not saying that you should be selfish. I am saying your body, your genetic system has a powerful predisposition towards selfishness. And therefore, that is the importance of culture. He is against religion, but he says that is the importance of culture and education which will make us, teaches us to be unselfish. Otherwise, naturally we are selfish. So tapasya, nishkama karma, regular bhakti, devotion, and intense meditation, and an austere, simple lifestyle, you will find that the mind will kick back against you. Lifetimes of samskaras. You have indulged the mind. Now you don't want to indulge the mind anymore. The mind will kick back. What do? Ignore it. Ignore it. One sadhu said nicely, बच्चा ऐसे ही रोता है, माँ बाप जानते हैं. Parents know. Sometimes the baby screaming. I saw one baby. Where was it? Somewhere a baby was there, and in the park, I think, maybe, yes. And the baby was sitting in the pram, and the sweetest of all smiles, like angelic smile. He's playing with something, and such a big, beautiful smile. 1 minute later, screaming as if the world is collapsing. The mother is cool in both cases. You know, baby does this. You need not take it too seriously. Mind is baby. Don't take it too seriously. When it says it's a disaster, it's awful, I don't like the spiritual path, forget. Don't listen to it. And it says it's wonderful, great, I'm so peaceful and happy, you say, okay, good for you. So tapasya. There was one story, not particularly applicable, but let me tell you. That's one sadhu said. That 3 friends were going. They had new clothes. Now, one friend was very attached to his clothes. He liked his new set of clothes. Second one was not attached, but he was very plump. Third one was not attached and very skinny. Now, when they are going a long journey in the forest, robbers caught hold of them, then saw the expensive clothes, and they wanted to take away all the clothes. And one who was very attached to his clothes cried and wept, and all the clothes were torn from his body, and it suffered so much. The other guy who was not attached to his clothes, he said, wait, I'll take it off, but he had to struggle a lot to take it off, because he was plump. And the other guy who was skinny and was not attached to his clothes just took it off and threw it at the robbers. Take it, I have no problem. Now, the first one who is attached to his clothes is the ignorant one who thinks, I am body, mind. When the Lord of death comes, give me the body. That person suffers very much. It is torn from him. Body will go anyway. Lord of death, Yama comes and takes away the body. The second one, who has read a lot of Vedanta, heard many YouTube talks, but no Atmanishta. He understands I am not the body, but he will suffer when the body goes. Third one, who has understood it and clarity is there and spent long time dwelling on it, seriously, and living an austere lifestyle of tapasya. Tapasya means austerities. Will be able to let go of the body just like that. I don't care, let it go. This is the difference. This is called tapasya. The strength to face affliction. The strength based on your knowledge to face afflictions. Otherwise, knowledge may be there, strength may not be there. There is a very ancient saying, quoted somewhere in the Yoga Sutras, Yoga Bhashya I found, very ancient, older than the Yoga Sutras. Sankhya samam jnanam nasti, yoga samam balam nasti. There is no knowledge like Sankhya. What is Sankhya? Self, non-self. Atma, Anatma. I am consciousness, everything else is an appearance. Sankhya, Dvaita, they are all based on this one insight. You are consciousness. There is no knowledge like that. That's the greatest of our knowledge. Most precious knowledge ever. And then it adds, Yoga samam balam nasti. There is no strength like yoga. What is yoga? Your karma yoga, your meditation, your bhakti yoga, even your hatha yoga, all of that, all of it builds up spiritual, so physical strength, mental, emotional strength, and spiritual strength. Combine both, knowledge and yoga, so that knowledge you can implement in this life itself. Okay. Then the third reason for Atmanishtha is Avisamvada. This I can explain with another thing that Swami Ramana Saraswati told us. Very nice story. Avisamvada means lack of contradiction. This happens at the beginning. When, like right now, we are studying, listening, understanding, getting it, not getting it, having many doubts. At this stage, he says, he told us this story. Suppose there is a man who has not seen milk but has read about milk. And then he comes across somebody else who tells him that, do you know what color milk is? And this man said, yeah, I've read about it. It's white. And then the other man who was clever, he said to him, you're not wrong, but only when it comes from white cows. But when it comes from brown cows, it is brown. When it comes from black cows, it is black. When it comes from red cows, it is red. And this man thought, that sounds logical. White cows, white milk, brown cows, brown milk. Maybe my book was incomplete. Maybe new edition, they have updated it. So, but the person who has seen milk, who knows what milk is, will never be, no matter what logic you give, will not be confused at all. So, a person who has seen the sun, no matter how many times you tell him there is no such thing as the sun, it's so bright, obvious and glaring, there's no doubt about it at all. Avisamvada, that's why you need to constantly refer back to it. Not the body, not the mind. Panchakosha, Vilakshana Atma, the witness, the 10th man, the witness of the 5 sheets of my personality. You want once in a while, regularly, every day, refer back to it. Then you will not be confused. Otherwise, next YouTube talk, you're confused. You said like this, but he says like that. But once you have got Atmanishtha, you will be like, what do you say? You take a look and tell. You will take a look and tell. It's your experience. The sign of an enlightened person, at least one who has had the breakthrough, is the conviction which comes from always available experience. Anytime there is a confusion, that person can take a look and say, okay. And the answers will match the scriptures. Even though he or she may not have read that. It will directly match it. Because you see for yourself what is the truth. One sadhu put it very nicely. कम से कम दिन में एक बार तो देख ले वस्तु कैसी है. Once in a while in a day, take a look. Take a look means figuratively. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep, I am the Turiya, to which all of these are appearing. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, the 5 sheets, I am the 10th man, the pure consciousness to which these 5 are appearing. Take a look, not just in theory. Don't remember the verses, just take a look at yourself. And then you go back. No contradictions. Nobody can defeat you. You may not be able to answer those logical problems, but you have no doubt about what the fact is. That other person is confused. So it's so clear. And then the other 2 are the original goals of Vedanta. Once you have got this, the Atmanishtha will deliver to you in time dukkha nivritti, the ability to overcome suffering. Physical suffering, mental, emotional suffering, you will not have that anymore if you dwell in this. And Ananda Prapti, you will forever dwell in radiance. William Blake, who sees infinity in a moment, infinity in a grain of sand, eternity in an hour. And then what else? And who sees the universe in a flower or something like that. And then he says, he who can kiss the joy as it flies, he lives in eternity's sunrise. Forever you will live in radiance all the time. This effortless, immortal consciousness is your own being. That will happen. That is the Atmanishtha. All of that is possible. Atmanidvaya, it says. I just mentioned, this will take 1 hour to explain. I have just given a note here. This is from the Mandukya, which is very close to what Ramana Maharshi taught actually. Gaudapada. More than Shankara, Gaudapada and Ramana Maharshi are close. So, 3rd chapter of Mandukya, the Advaita Prakarana, can be summed up in this way. Advaitam ajati Asparsha Amani Bhava, or Advaitam, Ajatavada, Asparsha Yoga, Amani Bhava. What does it mean? Non-duality, non-origination, non-contact, no mind. Let me repeat. I will not explain. It will take 1 hour to explain. Non-duality implies non-origination, implies non-contact, implies no mind. Advaita, Ajatavada, Asparsha Yoga, Amani Bhava. This is the essence of 3rd chapter of Mandukya Karika. Then let us go on. 27th verse. Jnanavarjita jnanahina chet,
Jnanavarjita jnanahina chet,
jnanamasti kim jnatumantaram,
jnanamasti kim jnatumantaram.
So, after ignorance has been removed, ajnanahina, your consciousness, but right now the problem is veiled by ignorance. After ignorance has been removed, jnanavarjita, knowledge is also let go. Let go of knowledge. I have realized Brahman, this is I am Satchidananda, let go of it. Do you keep thinking, do I keep thinking, I am Sarvapriyananda, I am Sarvapriyananda? What are you practicing? Sarvapriyananda yoga. Morning and evening. Atmanishta, Sarvapriyananda nishtha. Otherwise I will be shaken, I will get, contradiction, I will become confused. I need to practice this. No, I don't. I don't. It is effortless. See, when we get the name after sannyasa, the day we get the sannyasa diksha, so a new name is given. I was given this name by most revered Swami Ranganathananji Maharaj, the 13th president of our order. Then the procedure is, in the main monastery that day, so this is given early in the morning, just after sunrise. Throughout the day, many things have to be done by the new monks, but among them, you have to go and bow down to all the senior monks. And then you have to tell them that I have got this, I am a sannyasi, I have got this name, please bless me. And all the juniors, the brahmacharis, those who are not monks yet, they will come and bow down to you and ask for your name. And you have to tell them the name. So it's exhausting. By the end of the day, you have told your name 200-300 times. Within one day it becomes natural. How interesting. That Sarvapriyananda identity is so effortless, and yet it is an imposed identity. It was just given to me 2004, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, 19 years ago. No, 21 years ago, sorry. No, 19 years ago. 19 years ago. It was given to me 19 years ago. And it is now effortless for me. It became effortless in one day. But this, your nature, pure consciousness is effortlessly, continuously available to you without any doubt, blazing forth all the time. How much more effortless it is. So, once you have realized that, let go of the knowledge also. This is, Sri Ramakrishna put it in his very homely way. If you have a thorn in your flesh, you take another thorn and remove that thorn. Will you leave the second thorn inside? Or you throw that away also. The thorn of ignorance has entered your flesh. You take the thorn of knowledge and remove it and throw both away. This is something we don't understand intuitively. Because we understand ignorance is removed by knowledge, then we must hold on to knowledge. Then slowly becoming older, forgetting, memory failing, Alzheimer, Parkinson, all knowledge gone. Not like that. Because this is knowledge of something else, which we get in secular life. But this is knowledge of yourself continuously available. Once it's pointed out, it is self-sustaining because it's self-luminous. You don't need the mind to point it out. That's why people say, suppose I get Parkinson, Alzheimer's, I get coma, whatnot, will I then see you are thinking that Brahman knowledge is somehow dependent on the mind. No, it's not. Mind is necessary to remove the ignorance. Knowledge removes ignorance. But you, the Atman, are not dependent on knowledge. So knowledge, let go. It says, Jnana Varjita. This might sound strange. You let go of the knowledge. Technically, I just mention it because it will take another 1 hour or more to explain. What is the technical details of this? There's something called Akhandakara Vritti or Brahmakara Vritti. The Vritti of enlightenment, the realization I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, that realization. That there are two things to be discussed there, something called Vritti Vyapti, something called Phala Vyapti. And those things I will not go into, no time for that. The epistemology of enlightenment, exactly what happens at the point of enlightenment. And there it will be shown to you that moment of enlightenment, that realization, Aham Brahmasmi, that has something coming from your real nature as luminosities, pure consciousness, and something coming from the mind. And that part which comes from the mind, you can let go of it. That part which comes from you as self-luminosity, you cannot let go, need not, you cannot also let go. It will always remain self-shining. That part which came from the mind, for which there was all this preparation till now, that part you can let go. Jnana Varjita, he says. But first of all, the jnana has to come and remove, knowledge has to come and remove the ignorance. Without ignorance, dropping the knowledge produced by the mind, with the help of the mind, what remains? Chit. And then he says, after all, what is knowledge? If you are hesitant, dropping the knowledge, will I not become ignorant again? Jnanamasti kim jnatumantara. What is really knowledge other than you, the knower? You, the knower, are pure consciousness. Every knowledge is powered or illumined by consciousness alone. You remain, you are the essence of all knowledge. That is the meaning of chit or consciousness. That is the meaning of satyam jnanam anantam brahma. So you are the essence of all knowledge. It's because of you knowledge is possible. You can let go of that particular knowledge, aham brahmasmi. You will remain as Brahman. Otherwise you will become a knower of Brahman. Enlightened one, we call them a knower of Brahman, Brahmagyani. The enlightened one never says that I am a knower of Brahman. That's why Nisargadatta was asked that you are a Brahmagyani, after Brahmagyani. He had a rough temper actually. I met a gentleman who met Nisargadatta. And he got for all his troubles, he got a good scolding. Rough temper means that was his way of expressing. Ramana Maharshi was very gentle, very sweet and gentle. Nisargadatta was. So he exploded in annoyance. What do you mean? You are insulting me. You are calling me Brahmagyani. You insult. He said, but Brahmagyani, knower of Brahman, is the highest thing we can say in our culture. You are a knower of Brahman. You have reached the goal of human life. He said, no, I am not a knower of Brahman. I am Brahman. And that is what every enlightened person can claim. Then we come to the last part, which is Ananda. 28, 29 is Ananda. Kim swarupam ityatma darshane. Kim swarupam ityatma darshane. Avyaya bhava purnachit sukham. Avyaya bhava purnachit sukham. So when you inquire, what is my nature? King Swarupam. Who am I? What am I? King Swarupam, what is my nature? You realize the Atman, I am pure consciousness. But what about Ananda? You've talked about Sat, pure being. You've talked about Chit, pure consciousness. But what about Ananda? So he says, Sukham. What is this Sukham? Abhyaya, Abhava, Apurna, Chit Sukham. This pure consciousness, this pure being, which is not subject to decay, which has not come into being, which is not born, and which does not give birth to anything else also. Which is not born, it does not give birth. Interestingly, I found the very beginning of the Al-Quran. The beginning of the Quran Sharif, the first verse says, Allah is that which is not born from anything else and nothing is born from Allah. Right? So, very interesting. And I'm not saying that the Muslims give this interpretation, but this highest Advaitic interpretation can be given. The meaning is there. So, the ultimate reality is not born, is not originated. There is no cause for that. And nothing comes from it also, which means non-dual. That means everything that we see here is nothing other than that ultimate reality appearing in all its forms. You can say all of this is either false, Jagat Mithya, or you can say all of this is Brahman. It's the same thing. You can say it is the rope, or the rope is true, or you can say snake is false. It's the same thing. Abhyaya, Abhava. It has neither come from anything, nor does anything come from it. Apurna. From all sides, it is complete. There is nothing excluded here. Everything is a manifestation of this one reality. Everything is explained here, included here, divinized here. Apurna Chit. This itself is Sukha. This is bliss. To put it simply, the infinitude of your own existence is bliss. Your own infinitude is bliss. Upanishad says, Chandogya Upanishad, Nalpe sukham asti, bhumaiva sukham, yo vai bhuma tat sukham. There is no true happiness in the limited. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham, that which is the unlimited, that which is the vast, that is happiness. What is the vast? Your infinite existence consciousness, that is the vast. That is sukha. That is bliss. Now someone might ask, see the problem when you say talk about bliss is, we immediately think of blissful feeling. Are we talking about a blissful feeling here? No. We are talking about Brahman here, the ultimate reality, not a feeling. Just as pure being, Sat, is not an existing thing. Existence itself is not an existing thing. Consciousness itself is not a conscious experience. Chit, if you say, pure consciousness. Is it a thought? Is it an idea? Is it a memory? Is it a desire? No. It is the consciousness which gives us all these experiences. What is Sat? Is it a table? Or is it a chair? Is it sky? Is it sun? Is it God? No. It is that which gives existence to table, chair, sun, sky, God. All of them get existence from Sat. Similarly, Ananda is not a particular feeling, not a smiley face, and not a laugh. No, it is that which gives joy, fulfillment, meaning, bliss. Everything is because of this Ananda. And this Ananda and this Chit and this Sat are exactly one thing. And what is that one thing? You. It's not a thing, it is you. You are reflected in your existence nature is reflected in the world as all existing things. Your consciousness nature is reflected in your life as every experience of your life. Your Ananda nature is reflected in life as every joy, every moment of fulfillment, every purpose, every goal, every value you are seeking for, every aesthetic experience, every moral excellence, whatever is goal, purpose, goodness in life, that is Ananda. That is borrowed from Ananda. Ananda exists by itself. And that Ananda you are, that Chit you are, that Sat you are. It is Abhyaya. It does not decay. All other Sukha comes and goes. It is Abhava. It is not caused by anything, it does not give rise to anything else also. But all secular or religious or whatever the Sukha you get, it is caused by something. Something gives rise to it. And it goes away again. It is Apurna, it is always present. Ananda is always present. The Sukha which we experience in the mind is not always present, it comes and goes. One reflection I can offer here before wrapping up is, I was just thinking, it struck me only a few months ago, the fundamental questions of philosophy. In any philosophy, we have three branches. Metaphysics, what is real? What is reality? Universe, God, self, what is reality? Substance, quality, attributes, action, what is reality? One. Second, that's called metaphysics, that's one branch, study of reality. Second branch is, how do you know anything at all? Epistemology. Third branch had many components, which is like what is good, what is beautiful, ethics, aesthetics. Now, all of those have been brought under one name called axiology, the study of value. It could be aesthetic value, it could be moral value, purpose of life, goal of life, goodness, beauty, all of that. Now notice, I think you know where I'm driving. I'm taking this too. The first branch, metaphysics or ontology, study of reality. The answer to that question is Sat, pure being. The second one, how do we know anything at all? Answer to that question is Chit, consciousness, pure consciousness. And the third one, what is the point of all this? What are we here for? What can we hope to gain at all in life and all existence? Or this is axiology. What is really ultimate value? Ananda. Satchidananda. It is the answer to our deepest philosophical questions. Alright, let me. Oh, alright, just. There's no time, otherwise we've gone into it. There is. I just give you the hint and stop here. I'll just go ahead and finish the other verses. To understand this verse and the next one, Ramana Maharshi's take on Ananda, I'll refer you to the arguments given for Ananda in Panchadashi, chapter 1, and expanded much further in chapter 12. No, in chapters 11 to 15. This is Yoganande, Brahmanande, Yogananda, Brahmanande, Atmananda, Brahmanande, Vishayananda, like that. It's been Advaitananda, like that. This chapter, 5 chapters, the last 5 chapters on bliss in Panchadashi. And all the arguments are summed up in 2 verses in the first chapter, the 7th and 8th verses, or 8th and 9th, 7th and 8th verses. What is Ananda? And arguments to show that you are Ananda itself. I will not go into the arguments. Now, a more detailed and beautiful, poetic, sublime description of the Ananda nature is provided in the Taittiriya Upanishad itself. Ananda Mimamsa. What is Vishayananda, the worldly Ananda which we are experiencing? What is Bhajanananda, the spiritual Ananda of people who are practicing Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana, the bliss of Bhakti, the bliss of selfless, the good action, moral life, the bliss of meditation, that is Bhajanananda. And finally, what is Brahmananda, what you get by Jnana Yoga. Brahmananda is the bliss of your own self, that is you yourself, the infinite existence, consciousness bliss. Vishayananda, Bhajanananda, Brahmananda. Those are not the terms used in Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad, they will take you on a journey. One is someone following Vishayananda. How can I get more and more happiness in this world and the next world? More happiness, more happiness, more happiness, more pleasure. And another one is saying, by giving up this world and the next world, through spiritual life, how can I get more happiness? I will become selfless, have complete vairagya, dispassion, I will be selfless, I will be devoted, I will be meditative, I will cultivate jnana. Shrotriyascha, kamatascha, you will find that refrain again and again. And finally you will find ending up with Brahmananda. Kaschaso aditye, kaschaso purushe, sa ekaha. So that is there in the, I will not explain, that's there in the Ananda Mimamsa. Towards the end of second chapter, Brahmananda Bali. I think Ashtamanuvaka, 8th section or something like that. Taittiriya Upanishad, second chapter. And if you want to talk, make it easier, explain it, I want to listen to it, an explanation, then I have this talk, the search for bliss, the quest for bliss or search for bliss. I have got a talk, look it up on YouTube. I have given 1 or 2 talks about this. All of that to explain this 2 verses, 28 and 29.
Swami, have you given a talk on this etymology, axiology, and the metaphysics?
I have not given. I just touched upon. This is just an idea I gave.
I loved it though.
Yeah, it just struck me only a few months ago. Simple idea. It's just a fact, but Notice them, the Satchidananda and the fundamental questions of philosophy. They match so beautifully. Alright. Number 29. Bandhamuktyatītam param sukham. Bandhamuktyatītam param sukham. Vindati haji vastu daivika. Vindati haji vastu daivika. So here in this world, some rare individual with divine qualities attains the supreme happiness which is beyond bondage and liberation. Here also, a lot of explanations there. Bandha mukta atita, beyond bondage and liberation. See, we think we are in bondage and we are seeking liberation. But that's not the truth. You are neither in bondage nor will you be liberated. The truth, this is a hint towards what Gaudapada said in the third chapter or second chapter. Na nirodho na cha patti, na bandho na cha mokshaha, na mumukshu na vai mukta na cha sadhakaha, ityesha paramarthata. Second chapter, I think. The ultimate truth, Gaudapada says, something very shocking to spiritual seekers. When will samsara cease? There is no ceasing of samsara. What do you mean? Samsara will never cease. Yes, because there was no origination. Samsara never started. How will it cease? Na nirodha na chutpatti. Then, but what about us? We are seeking liberation. We want to become, muktaha, liberated. There is nobody liberated. What? But at least there are those who are seeking liberation, like us. There is no mumukshu, there is nobody who is seeking liberation. But then those who are doing sadhana, nacha sadhaka, there is nobody who is doing sadhana. Are you mad? What are you saying? Gaudapada says, ityesha paramarthata. This is the final truth. Why? Because the Atman alone exists. Where is ultimately, really is there a world to be overcome? Is there a samsara to be... So just from a high perspective is speaking. Practically, of course, we have to do all this, but from a high perspective. Same thing Ramana Maharshi is hinting towards. Bandha mukti atitam, param sukham. The bliss, ananda, which we are talking about. This is, you think that you are in bondage, you are not getting bliss. When you get moksha, you will get bliss. No, this is beyond bondage and moksha. It is always there. Bondage, bandha mukti, bondage and liberation are dreams. Bondage is nightmare and liberation is a good dream, pleasant dream. Both are dreams. The reality is you are the witness consciousness, always. But he warns, a very good combination. It takes us back to the beginning of Vedanta. Only a rare individual will reach these heights. Why rare? We are all Atman. No, but if you are caught in this problem, you think you are, you need to get some qualities, some qualifications for this. And he says the divine qualities, sadhana chatushtaya, viveka, vairagya, the 6 disciplines, shama, dhamma, uparati, titiksha, samadhana, shraddha. And then finally mumukshutva. So these 4 qualities one must develop. Without them, one Swami put it beautifully, with these 4 qualities you will attain enlightenment and you will be free. Without these 4 qualities, you come to Vedanta, you will feel I have learnt a nice philosophy. But nothing is what nice. Nothing is like nice philosophy, a cool philosophy. I learned something very nice, I attended some very sophisticated, subtle things I talked about. But nothing is really working, my life is still the same. No, strongly develop those 4 qualities, everything else will fall into place. Finally, let us conclude. Aham apetakam nija vibhanakam. Aham apetakam nija vibhanakam. Mahadidam tapo Ramana vadiyam. Mahadidam tapo Ramana vadiyam. Aham apetakam. As when the false eye, the ordinary eye, the ego, that drops away. When that is removed, that veil is removed. Nija vibhanakam. the real nature shines forth. This whole thing, the whole book is being summarized here. Inquire into who I am, what I am, which was done till from 16th verse onwards. Inquire into that, then this I which you are inquiring into will drop away. And the real I or the real nature, Nija Vibhara. He doesn't even want to call it the real I, need not call it the real I. Just say that self-nature will shine forth. This is Mahadidam Tapa, this is the greatest austerity. This is the greatest spiritual practice. This is the final spiritual practice. It is for this alone that people become monks, people do great service to society, karma yoga. People are devotees and pray to God and bhakti. People spend, try to quieten their minds in meditation and attend retreats and watch innumerable YouTube talks and all. All of this, Mahadidam Tapo, the real, the point of all of that is this, what we have just talked about. He's inviting us. Then catch hold of this, make it the primary thing. Don't be caught up in rituals. Have some ritual in your life, no harm. But don't be caught up in rituals. Don't be caught up in externals. Don't be caught up even in the great, wonderful yogas of karma, bhakti, dhyana. Those are all preparatory. They're very close to the reality, but they're preparatory. And give central importance to this. And the rest is supporting. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Our salutations to Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi for this nectar-like teaching. This is the fairest flower of civilization, human civilization, this teaching of Advaita Vedanta. Since we are all non-Buddhist Advaitins here, I can share because otherwise people are offended in other gatherings. Some are in favor of bhakti, some are in favor of something else. Saying Advaita Vedanta is the crest jewel, is the highest. All the rest work their way up to this. If you have this, yeah. Alright, so should we take up one or two questions? Any comments or questions? Maybe 5 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap it up. Yes, one.
Very simple question from our novice. Did Ramana Maharshi actually write these Sanskrit verses or did he write in Tamil?
He wrote Tamil, Sanskrit, all of them he wrote himself. And the handwriting is available. In the Ramana Maharshi the Ramana Ashram publication, there are photocopies of his handwriting, the original handwriting. Tamil he wrote. Then there was Ganapati Muni prayed to him that please put it in Deva Bhasha, that is language of the god, Sanskrit, put it there. And then he also translated it into Malayalam and Telugu. Each has its own flavor. The Telugu I read was very close to the Sanskrit. So I don't understand Telugu, Tamil or Malayalam, but only Sanskrit. Yes.
Ahankara and Upadhi. Is the Upadhi leading to Ahankara or Ahankara leading to Upadhi?
Upadhi, the Ahankara itself is an Upadhi. Upadhi is, the term means Upa Samipe Sthitva Swiyan Gunan Adhatte Upadhi. That which comes close to you and appears to transfer its qualities to you. So the classic example is if you have so the clear plastic bottle here, and then I put a green book behind it. The bottle begins to look green, does it? Yes. It looks very green. The bottle begins to look green.
Yeah.
You see? Now this green paper is Upadhi. The bottle is the crystal clear. This is the substance. And the green color seems to come into the bottle. It seems like a green bottle or a green colored liquid in the bottle or something like that. But actually, even when it looks green, it is not green. Similarly, you are like this bottle, pure, transparent, lucid awareness. Now when the mind and the body appear, when the ego appears, that awareness also takes on the quality of I. And the mind appears, I think. And the body appears, I am walking, talking, sitting, young, old, all of that. This is upadhi. At no point you, the consciousness, has either ego or thought or body. Only thing is here, the bottle and the paper are different. There, in consciousness alone, the body, mind and ego, they appear. They seem to cloud the consciousness, color the consciousness. All you need to do is to know that at no point, just as all you need to know is no point, even when it looks green, has it become green. It looks green, but it has not become green. You can call it green, it will act like green, looks like green, nama, rupa, vyavahara is all green, but it's not green. Similarly, when the ego appears, and it with its associated thoughts and mind and body, when I, the consciousness, I feel like a thinking, physical, mental, psychophysical being, but at no point am I a psychophysical being, I am just conscious person. This is upadhi. Okay, just these three questions, we'll end with that.
Where can one go today to meet Jivan Mukta?
I don't know. I sometimes give examples and somebody complains, Swami, every example you've given of an enlightened person is their pastor. You always say their pastor a few years ago. And we are all like, just dang it, we just missed it. No, they're always enlightened beings, but it doesn't matter. The whole point is to become enlightened yourself. So there are so many, if you look at the lives of those who met these enlightened persons, people who lived with Ramana Maharshi, people who lived with Nisargadatta and others also, and I've seen some myself. Their life continued pretty much humdrum. Some of them did intense spiritual practice and became enlightened themselves. Some of them carried on with a lower level of sadhana and reached some level. It's not that their lives were simply revolutionary just because they met. They still had to, just like the rest of us, they had to carry on and do sadhana. It is a great blessing to meet such a person, but it is not all or nothing. This teaching is all or nothing. That we have been exposed to this teaching, this is the greatest blessing. This is the grace of God. The grace of God is you have a guru, you have the shastra, this is the greatest grace of God.
Swami, you said once you have the knowledge, you have to drop it also. When you know something, how can you not know it?
Drop it means, it's not that you will not know it anymore. It's that you are no longer dependent upon that vritti. Yeah. Right now, if I get secular knowledge about, I memorize these verses, I'm dependent on the mind to, if the memory doesn't work, then I'm failing. Then I don't know it anymore. But Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana is not like that. Because it is self-luminous, once it has been pointed out, it is continuously and all the time available. You don't need the mind anymore. That is dropping it. Technically, there is something called vritti vyapti and phala vyapti, and after the initial removal of ignorance, see, that's why these verses are pretty technical. Ajnana hinachit jnana varjita. He's talking about the whole epistemology of enlightenment in that short phrase. There is akhandakara vritti there is vritti vyapti there, phala vyapti there, and then the dropping away of that phala vyapti is not necessary, vritti vyapti is necessary, and the dropping of the vritti vyapti, all of these things, all sorts of technicalities are there. They are just summarized in two little words. It just takes Ramakrishna's idea of the thorn in your flesh and you take out the, you remain, you drop the other thorn also. It's not that you forget. It's you're no longer dependent on that knowledge in the mind. You know you are the ever shining sun of consciousness.
That very quick stop, the actor and the play. So we know the king and the beggar. We know it's the same actor playing different roles. But what about enjoying the show? Don't we have to forget about that in a certain way?
Yeah, sure. Now that you know that you are pure consciousness, now you enjoy the show. Earlier you couldn't enjoy the show. Somebody said, after becoming enlightened, won't you be bored? Everything is done, the game is over. That's the language, everything is done. You have attained whatever has to be attained in life. You have known whatever has to be known in life. You have got whatever has to be got in life. Then the game is over. No. Then the game really begins. You can really enjoy life. Robert Ingersoll, the great agnostic, late 19th century, he met Vivekananda and he said, I don't believe in all this religion, spirituality. I believe in, it's like, sucking or squeezing the orange dry. Every drop of life I want to enjoy as long as I live. It's the materialist creed of it. As long as I live, I make hay while the sun shines. Vivekananda says, I believe in that too. And he said, actually, I may differ in my choice of fruit. For me, it's the mango. But let me show you how you can squeeze the fruit and get 10,000-fold more. Get every last drop. He says, I know that I cannot die, therefore I'm not in a hurry. I know I'm one with the universe. Imagine the joy of being one, of loving everybody, not desiring anything, loving everybody, the great joy of it all. Squeeze the orange in this way and get 10,000-fold more from it. Get every last drop. I'm quoting Vivekananda. So then you really enjoy. You are Shiva watching the dance of Shakti, of this universe, using Kashmiri Shaivism terms. And that will continue. That you enjoy from lifetime to lifetime, there is no problem. There is Kabir Das song, I think. That Jugan Jugan Mai Yogi Re, from Kabir Das, yes. From age to age, I am a yogi. Ages have passed, and I have watched the play of samsara come and go. Very, very mystical. Lifetimes I have seen this drama of life coming and going. I have been a yogi for ages. That means many, many lifetimes. You can do that if you like. Alright, on that very sublime and high note, let us end. What will happen now?